And then he went for the bronchoscopy. And that's when we got, when the ENT surgeon came to tell us that they were going to take him for a bronchoscopy, that he said, while we're in there, while he's intubated, we could just pop a trach in if we see a reason for it, if we see a need for it.
You referred to pop a trach in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that was one of the first, nobody had really said your baby might need a trach, or even what a trach means. I mean, I tried to have a conversation with one of the nurses about it, and she's like, first of all, the reactions were all like, and then she said, well, maybe it would just be like a trach, but not a vented trach. And I was like, wait, what does that mean? What is the difference? So of course, all this information is trickling in sort of backwards. And we're being offered to pop a trach in when we don't know what a trach is, what it means, what are the dangers, what are the advantages, disadvantages, what is vent versus not vent. So long story short, I said no, just tell us, do the bronchoscopy. And this seems like a very big decision that we're going to have to make later when we have gathered all the information. And the other thing that was at the same time very frustrating for us is that all of these subspecialties would come in, say their little piece, and we would ask them questions, and they would say, well, that's really a question for neuro, or that's really a question for ped surge. And everybody was punting to the other person. And we're sitting there feeling like we can never leave this room because we're the only ones who are actually getting all of the information. Like, we're the hub of information.
Yeah.
And we don't know anything about like this type of any of these subspecialties or like, how is this possible?
So how did we first hear about?
Well, when they came back with the bronchoscopy outcome, which is just not good. It was like he would likely need a vented trach. That's whenever we wanted to have a care conference. And my mother, thank God, is a retired nurse, also a hospital administrator. And she has been with a lot of people when they die, and she knows bad outcomes and she knows good outcomes. And she became a very fierce advocate for us and for Vigo. And she sort of helped us think through, like, okay, you want a care conference because you want everybody in the room. You don't want anybody to be able to punt to somebody else. Everybody needs to be in the same room. And you need to have a palliative care consult, and we started asking everybody who came in the room. We said, we want to talk to palliative care. We want to have a care conference. And that was also didn't happen. There was a lot of resistance to that. It sort of felt like, well, we're not at the palliative care place yet. I'm like, I'm not saying we're all going to die right now. I'm just saying, can I talk to them? Can we have a consult? Why do I have to request this 17 times in order to get someone from the palliative care team to come into my room of my child who has a poor prognosis, whatever that means?
I think that's why, Ashley brought up the trach issue, because that was the first decision that we faced in terms of like, what road are there? Roads? Are there different paths? What path are we choosing? Why are we choosing it? Right?
What is the outcome like?
And then also the different specialists as well. It is feel as if sometimes these medical professionals, the doctors, are like mechanics, and they're like, I work on this part of the vehicle, and then another person works on this part of the vehicle, but nobody like is someone who looks at the whole vehicle. And they said, well, what is this vehicle driving for? What sort of experience is the vehicle having? Everybody just wants to fix something. Nobody wants to actually think about like, what is this person's actual experience? Like if I'm going to live like 80 years amazingly, or like 82 years with 2 years of just brutal medical procedures and terrible stuff before I die, probably going to choose option A. but we don't often like think about that. And then especially when I talk about my child, who I immediately love, and then such a short life, right? Like, I mean, he's probably was going to live somewhere between 6 months and 3 years, regardless of what we did. And it's like, so now we have to make questions of what does that 6 months to 3 years look like? We then started to think what we want to look like. We wanted him home, wanted him comfortable.